A PETA investigation of big game trophy hunting exposes the president of South Africa profiteering from it as his side hustle, and many of his customers are hunter tourists from the U.S. Next on the PETA Podcast. Welcome to the PETA Podcast. I'm Emil Guillermo, your host for this behind-the-scenes look at PETA, the largest animal rights organization in the world. On today's episode, the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has been profiting from a big game breeding and trophy hunting operation in his country, according to a PETA investigation. PETA investigators talked extensively to those who ran the operation for the president. President Ramaphosa has denied the allegations, but has told his breeding operation to cut ties with his hunting safari tours. He continues to draw criticism from South Africans and citizens of the world who want to see the exploitation of animals end. PETA Senior Director of Investigations, Schein, told me how the safari business works and how tourists, many from America, can choose their targets from a menu. How much does it cost to shoot a giraffe? I didn't realize the giraffes were on the menu.
$2,800.
That's it? $2,800 to shoot a giraffe?
Yeah, that's at this Sala, the president's that he has a 50% stake in. Baboon, $150.
$150?
Mm-hmm. And now, let me tell you, these prices are just the trophy price. So you also pay $400 or $500 a night for the lodging, the food, the whole experience. So that's not even included in the trophy fee. So this is just the killing fee. And that includes their transporting the carcass to a local taxidermist. That's included in your cost.
And then you got to pay extra to ship it back to the United States.
Right. Shipping is extra. So your airfare is extra, your room and board, that's all extra. And that's pretty expensive at these places. You can kill a caracal, who's not a big cat, but they're these medium cats, kind of like a lynx size, who are these beige cats with black tipped ears. They're gorgeous. $500. You can kill a honey badger, who are very popular in wildlife documentaries. $600. Yeah, it's pretty outrageous.
So if someone could go economy, if their bloodlust does not allow them to go up the food chain, but what's the most expensive?
You can kill I'll just go on to tell you one of the least expensive. You can kill a jackal, about this of a coyote, gorgeous. They didn't say whether they're black-backed or side-striped, but they're $120 to kill a jackal.
Wow, their life is cheap.
Yeah, and you can kill a springbok, who are the national symbol of South Africa, for $500. So
what? How about the most expensive? The bigger the animal, the more expensive?
Yeah, so at Sala safaris, let's see, a roan antelope starts at $5,000. A buffalo, depending on the size of their horns, could be over $10,000. And those are just current prices, because right now, I think they just started allowing people back into South Africa travel-wise for COVID. So the trophy hunting operations are definitely suffering, as every tourist industry is there, from a lack of income. So these prices, as I mentioned, in the past have been much, much higher.
Well, thank God that they're suffering, because they don't need more people coming down to shoot. But
no, unfortunately, though, then the legal safari, the photo safaris, the humane safaris are also suffering, because people can't come and support the conservation of these animals with their dollars now either. So luckily, we were able to document it and bring it to light. And I think investigations like this can help bring us to a tipping point where people might put their foot down and say this isn't acceptable anymore.
Schein said the PETA investigators released the information connecting the president of South Africa to the breeding and hunting operation on November 20th. Here's my interview with PETA's Senior Director of Investigations, Schein, on the PETA Podcast.
This was actually a bonus investigation in a way. PETA was looking into the pigeon racing in South Africa because our previous investigations had found that there was a very lucrative race in South Africa called the South African $1 Million Pigeon Race. And in the process of our investigator in South Africa looking into the pigeon race, which was extremely lethal and which we talked about before, he also uncovered President Cyril Ramaphosa's involvement not only in pigeon racing, but in the breeding of captive bred wildlife for trophy hunting. We didn't go into the South African investigation expecting to find this link. They try to keep it a secret, and it was quite exciting unearthing this aspect of a president of a country profiteering from trophy hunting.
So tell me, Cyril Ramaphosa, he is the president of South Africa. He's not really commonly known in the United States as much as, say, previous South African presidents, or is he, or is it just me?
Yeah, I think people might know President Zuma before him more readily, but he's been president for several years, and he one thing I didn't know, he's an extremely wealthy person. He's been very successful in business, and apparently he's been profiting from his Pala Pala breeding enterprise, which first he kind of started out with breeding exotic cattle, but he also breeds all kinds of captive wildlife. And then what people knew that. They knew he was involved in that as a business, but they did not know that the same person who manages Pala Pala also manages a secret property for him called Deep Drift, which is where Sala Hunting Safaris runs trophy hunts as their main business. So people are pretty disgusted to find out about this, that the president of a country who has pretty unlimited wealth and resources needs to exploit African wildlife for his own, for profit. It's pretty appalling.
Your investigator goes down there, is going down there to go look at the pigeon races, and we have Ramaphosa who is involved in that. How did this bonus thing happen where it was discovered that Ramaphosa also is involved in this trophy hunting trade?
Yeah, so it just happened that the person who runs his pigeon, racing aspect where he invests in pigeons for pigeon racing was also the manager of Pala Pala and is also the manager of Deep Drift. So this person was a wealth of information about all these enterprises and quite clearly said in multiple conversations with our investigator that it was on the down low, that they did not want President Ramaphosa connected in public with the trophy hunting aspect of it because it would cause all kinds of bad publicity. If you would like, I can actually quote from those conversations because they're really pretty juicy. He confirmed that Pala Pala, which is the public breeding operation of President Ramaphosa, and Sala Hunting Safari work together as a joint venture. He said, we go under their brand, the Sala brand, because we're afraid for the green guys, now that would be us, that they will attract some publicity if we use our brand and do our hunting. So rather we go with them and do a joint venture. They do all the marketing and everything. And then he said, about 3 months later to our investigator, we try to keep the president's name actually out of the hunting thing because of all the greenies. They can make this thing very political. So he must be very careful, the president himself, not to end up in a debate of hunting and anti-hunting socialists and those people. So he wants to spare himself those, how can I say, bad publicity and all of that. That's why we always keep Deep Drift and Sala Safaris sort of separate from our Pala Pala brand, in particular for those overseas people.
So the president was a kind of a silent partner in a way.
Absolutely. He had a 50% stake in the profits from this hunting enterprise that would hunt on his Deep Drift property, which was stocked with animals bred from his breeding farm. So, 50% share in the animals shot and killed on this property.
So once PETA exposed this to the international press, what did the South African media do? And what did Ramaphosa say in response to the news breaking?
So the press came out and quoted our materials and said that these were our allegations. And Ramaphosa's presidential website came out with an official statement disavowing, denying everything that we were alleging, saying that they have no relationship with trophy hunting. And after a long list of denials, it said at the bottom, I have instructed Pala Pala basically to cut ties with Sala hunting safaris because they have arranged hunts of threatened species on other properties. And we came back and said this is an embarrassing denial of what we have on video and on audio of his manager saying very clearly. So that stirred up the press again, and we had a whole new round of media and stories about this denial of something that was so clearly documented.
And was there any repercussion against your source?
No, not yet. Not that I know of. It's pretty hard to refute something that's clearly stated on multiple occasions and multiple types of in-person and phone meetings. So,
yeah. So yeah. What?
That we've made those files available to the press so that they can see, they can hear exactly what the president's manager said.
And what was the fallout with the public once the news broke? Was there the kind of pushback against the president that he had feared, or that your source feared? Did that occur?
Yes, there's been a wave of criticism of the president for exploiting South Africa's resources and its national treasures, really, these animals. And there's been so much outrage from people in South Africa and around the world who these are it's kind of the last remaining reserves of these very special animals, and to have them be bred in these game farms just to be shot by thrill-seeking rich guys primarily from the U.S. and Europe, it's pretty disgusting.
And so they were primarily, I know you have one video, was the culprit a U.S. tourist there on safari? Right.
So the video shows a male elephant being shot at a reserve outside of Kruger National Park, where there aren't fences between this private reserve and the national park. So this elephant could have been living in the park or having just come out of the park. We wouldn't know, but the elephant was shot multiple times because of the poor aim of this American trophy hunter, and suffered terribly over minutes before finally expiring. And the video we obtained doesn't it takes you through the first, I think, 5 shots, but after several minutes, the video cuts off. So who knows how long that elephant suffered. We called on El Al, Israel Airlines, to ban the transport of trophies, because this hunter planned to use El Al to transport the elephant's body parts back to the U.S. because many, I think over 40 airlines already won't handle that kind of shipment. And he planned to use El Al because they did, but we successfully convinced them to stop transporting animal trophies.
Well, this is not the first time that someone who is a trophy hunter from the U.S., in this particular enterprise, it costs something like $30,000 or so to take part in this, and so yes, people go down there. I do recall a story about a wealthy dentist who was involved in some kind of trophy hunt, and he was practically, he was run out of town practically because of the bad publicity.
Yeah, he killed Cecil the lion in Zimbabwe, and that caused international uproar.
So it seems that there is a sense that internationally we all agree that this is a bad thing, trophy hunting, and yet why is it allowed to exist in South Africa? Why is it allowed to continue, and people with the wealth can go down there and pay the money and pull the trigger and kill these animals?
I think South Africa formerly had all wildlife as property of the country. And then some time ago, I think it was in the 90s, they started allowing private ownership of wildlife. And then a good number of cattle farms switched to be these captive game farms where they pursued trophy hunting instead of cattle farming when the cattle market dropped. So it's unfortunate that this is allowed. You can even pay to shoot a lion who was captive raised and only released 4 days before the hunt. That's the rule according to the trade organization that kind of regulates these canned hunt operations, these lion facilities. 4 days they have to be released from essentially a pen into a slightly larger game farm with, a fenced area. Then you can shoot them. So these are essentially tame lions who've possibly been used for cub petting operations where, tourists can get their photos taken with babies. And then these walk with lions, tourist traps where you can walk along with juvenile lions. And then when they get too big, they're consigned to the trophy hunting market because that's what their value is.
So this trophy hunting market, you call it, is it a thriving business?
There are entire websites and discussion boards devoted to African hunting and where to go and which outfitters to use. And they're very public with the price list for each animal that you can shoot. And I have these lists. If you're at all curious, if you have any favorite African animals, I can give you the price on their head right off the sheet.
Like a rhinoceros, for example.
Sure. Well, our person was quoted that Deep Drift, the president's property, could bring in a rhino for him for between $30,000 and $45,000.
Wow! So they get a rhino, and they let it around in this caged-in area, a large caged-in area, so a tourist can approximate the hunt and then gun down this essentially tame
That's
animal.
Right. That's right. They said they have a permit to keep a rhino and that they would just need to do a little more paperwork to put that permit in the hunter's name.
So you can imagine if it's $45,000 per rhino, you get people from around the world, wealthy people that come down. It adds up. There's a lot of money for someone like the president of South Africa, Ramaphosa. And so what was it seems that even though this is allowed to go on, the public in South Africa is against it.
A lot of people are against it. Yes, there are some people who claim that it's helping conserve wildlife, but we've seen that it's really anything but. If you look at the president's game breeder operation, he lists 10 kinds of animals that he specializes in. And he even says, we focus on breeding rare wildlife, a true national heritage. So if you think about the South African national heritage and you compare it to these 10 species, the ones that they're specializing in, of those 10, 6 of them are color mutations that don't exist in nature, where they've found like a one in a million white impala or a black impala, when impala are usually like a beige color. And they've bred them at these game farms so that a hunter can shoot they actually call it a grand slam of impala. So you can shoot a white impala, a black impala, a marbled impala, and a common impala. Or they offer golden wildebeest. And I don't know if you've seen a wildebeest, but they have blue wildebeest who are kind of a gray color, and they have black wildebeest who are a brownish black. So a golden wildebeest is a mutant. They're mutants. They've bred these animals to be unlike the animals in nature. So out of these 10 specialties of Pala Pala, of the president's game farm, 6 of them are mutation colors. they're not conserving these animals. That would be like saying that if you breed white tigers, that you're helping conserve tigers when they're just a mutation they're not wild tigers. And then 3 of them are animals from other countries, like Livingstone eland, who come from Angola. So how is this national heritage? It's not. It's these are animals who are exclusively bred for the trophy hunting market, so that trophy hunters can shoot, like I said, a grand slam of wildebeest or a grand slam of impala.
A grand slam being a set of how many?
4 kinds, like a baseball terminology.
Yeah.
It's
I was going to say 4, but I was hoping that maybe it would be a smaller number, but I guess no.
No, and they also have something called a spiral horn slam, which is 4 species of antelope that have spiral horns. For example, the kudu, the nyala, the eland, and one other. And it's just any marketing gimmick these folks can use, they use. And, some of this is cyclical. Some of it, like when President Ramaphosa was in the news for purchasing buffalo at very high prices to breed in his game farm. And people wonder, how can you spend that much money? They're breeding animals to sell to other breeders who are going to breed. And it's part of the market, but the market in these exotic color mutations really dropped. I found a post on TripAdvisor actually that said that someone had seen an ad for black impala for $45,000 a hunt. And right now, that was about 2015. Right now, you can get them for about $3,500. So for a while, these exotic colors were real fad in trophy hunting. Yeah. And it seems like the market really dropped for those. And you can see why maybe the president, there's a speculation, extended his game breeding to then get into the hunting side of it to increase profitability. Because I can't imagine if the prices drop that much for the game breeding side of it, maybe he was trying to recoup it in other ways.
A tourist can go down there and shoot a la carte. You can shoot your
Absolutely.
heart content if you have the money. And then once you shoot, the objective of the tourist is to bring back. They don't eat the animal, right? They it's a trophy.
Well, the American hunter did eat part of the elephant as I can't speculate as to his motive, but he tasted the elephant that he killed. And yeah, it's some of them who shoot animals that are more familiar to people's taste buds, like buffalo. They'll consume some of it, but the primary goal is to bring back the horns, the head. Depending, some of them, they'll take the whole skin. If you're planning to do a full mount of taxidermy, then we'd bring back the head and the full skin, and then the taxidermist would put it over a frame of like a plastic skeleton to fill out the animal.
And so basically we're talking about, you go down there for $30,000, you shoot to kill, you get the animal, and then you have to bring it back. A number of airlines have said, no, they're not going to do it. UPS, I understand, is still open to it. And now PETA is calling for UPS to not do it. How successful is that call so far?
That's right. So they haven't caved yet, but if people go to PETA.org and type in trophy hunting, they can fill out our action alert and contact UPS, or they can just call UPS directly and say, please stop transporting animal trophies, because it's not right. And it's supporting this murder and that's probably the best thing people can do to affect it from where they are here in the U.S.
But it is a thing where UPS right now, if someone came with a carcass and a head of an animal, they would ship it for a price, and it's usually around $30,000 or so, right?
I'm not sure. The price varies by how large the elephant obviously would have cost more than, for example, a zebra skin. But as long as people have the right permits, then UPS is willing to ship these quote unquote legal body parts.
But if there was enough of a hue and cry from people that this thing should stop, that it promotes the killing of these animals, then it could have an effect, and UPS can join other airlines that have said, no, we're not going to do this.
Yes, over 40 airlines have agreed to stop. So it's absolutely possible for UPS to do the right thing and join those airlines.
And this doctor, or not, he was a doctor
No, this American was not a doctor.
Okay, sorry.
But there was a Dutch doctor who just hunted on President Ramaphosa's Deep Drift property. And I'd be happy to talk about that. For some reason, doctors don't have any monopoly on compassion, or you'd think that they would.
They would be more so. Well, I guess it's first do no harm unless it's an animal.
Right.
I guess, because, well, what about this Dutch doctor?
Yeah, so we were in contact with him. Our investigator got some very interesting hunting reports from this couple. It was a doctor and his wife who shot a buffalo cow, so a female buffalo, a bush pig, who I don't know if our listeners know much about them. They're not warthogs. Bush pigs are a wild African pig who are very reclusive, and they're nocturnal, so they're hard to see on safari. Black impala, he shot a common impala, a marbled impala, and a saddleback impala, so an impala Grand Slam. And his wife shot a female kudu. Kudu are these gorgeous antelope, pretty much like the size of an elk, if Americans are listening who know how big elk are, with beautiful spiral horns. Right. And they're brown with these white stripes on their back. The males have a gorgeous beard down their chest. And the females are just gorgeous, dainty. They don't have the horns or the beard. They have a mane. And they're some of the prettiest animals you can see. So these are the animals that this Dutch couple shot on the president's property in the past year.
So they're repeat offenders.
Well, I think they did that all in one trip from the Netherlands. Yeah.
And then what is PETA doing to try to, what can you do once someone has engaged in this and has shipped back their take? What recourse is there to either hold these people accountable or to, I guess it's all legal.
It's all legal, unfortunately. And it's, it does go on in other places. Like the U.S. has plenty of captive hunting that goes on, and especially places like Texas, where they have these fenced ranches where you can shoot many of these same animals. And South Africa has that as well. You can shoot tigers in South Africa. They don't limit themselves to African animals.
So if people are listening to this and say, and they're because generally people are disgusted with the idea of a trophy hunt, even before you get into the details of who's doing what, and that the president of South Africa is involved in the trade and profiting from this. What can people do to either protest or to stop this, or to send a note to President Ramaphosa in South Africa? I suppose he doesn't have to listen to Americans, or
sure.
But what can our listeners do if they're against this activity?
Well, after they write to UPS or call UPS, they can for sure call or write to the tourist agencies in South Africa and say, hey, my family is not going to come here if this kind of thing isn't stopped. I know I've in the past done that, where I wrote to the authorities in Alaska and said, hey, I love your state. I honeymooned there, but I am not coming back. We're not coming back until you stop the aerial shooting of wolves. So everything people can do in that way, it can't hurt. It absolutely can't hurt.
And they can also go to PETA.org for what's the organized campaign that PETA is doing? Is that about protesting UPS or what?
Yes. Contacting UPS through our website or directly, asking them to no longer ship animal parts from trophy hunts. And you can certainly tell them that you won't ship things via UPS if they don't make that change.
And once again, because of PETA's investigation, the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, was exposed as having a part in this, although he denies it. What is the status now with his, I mean, he says he sold any interest that he has in it. And so he said
he told his game farm to disengage with the hunting side of it. But really, I mean, the game farm is breeding these animals who are only useful for trophy hunting. These aren't animals who are being bred and released in the wild for conservation purposes. These are only animals bred for giant horns or for exotic color mutations or both. So there is no, there's nothing he can do besides getting out of that business as well that would be satisfying for animal lovers.
So he's still in the business, really?
Yep, he still has that game breeding business. He just disengaged or claimed to be cutting ties with the safari operation.
So is PETA going to do more follow-up, or is the media in South Africa to do more follow-up to pressure the president of South Africa, or is the pressure really on the tourists who go down there and keep this industry, perpetuate this industry's cruelty?
Right. It is. The President Ramaphosa is in the hot seat right now. There's a lot of discontent with how he's doing things, not just in terms of his animal profiteering, but also his governance. So he's definitely having a tough time right now. And there was still a pending complaint that PETA submitted after the elephant hunt that we publicized by the American, who, we're not even sure that was legal, the way it took so long for him to kill the elephant. Really, the professional hunters who accompany a tourist like that are supposed to step in and shoot the elephant dead, or any animal, if the hunter can't aim properly. It's not humane to let them suffer like that. So the other thing is that hunter shot an elephant who had heavier, larger tusks than his permit let him kill. So those are things that we're still waiting to hear from South African authorities about whether there'll be ramifications for that.
Well, Hannah, we'll be following up to see just how much we can get into this and expose how this works. I think most people who are listening would be kind of shocked that this is how easy it is. If you have the money, you can go down there and kill, and if you have the right airline or the right shipping company, you can bring all your, bring what you shot back to the United States, and how easy it is. So,
yeah, it is. And, people talk about the big five, which are the most thought of as the most dangerous animals in Africa: the leopard, the lion, the rhino, the buffalo. But there's also a tiny 10 that hunters like to kill, who are the 10 smallest pygmy antelope. So just mind-boggling what excuses people will use to hunt and kill even the tiniest, most innocent of animals.
So this is part of I guess it is a kind of the trophy hunter subculture, I guess, huh?
It is. I've had to learn more about this than I ever wanted to.
I mean, but it's a larger group than one would think. I mean, even though there are so many people who are publicly outspoken against trophy hunting, it seems like there is a large enough number that would keep this kind of enterprise going for a while, as long as they have the money, right?
Right. And I don't know what it is about the psychology of people that makes this appealing to them. If you think about what we surround our babies with, it's giraffes, it's elephants. I mean, look at nurseries and designs of what we surround children with. It's these beautiful, smart, family-oriented animals who really what have they ever done to any people? And the fact that someone can go shoot a giraffe for fun and pose with their corpse or shoot a zebra, or, all these animals that we think of as, I don't know, the best of nature, the best of, it's hard for me to even get my mind around how people think that that's enjoyable or proper or acceptable. When I've had the privilege of doing several investigations in Africa, and obviously we're huge animal lovers. So we took the time when we were there for work to go and see these animals in their natural habitats and really appreciate who they are. And it's devastating when you're on your way to or from Africa to know, when you look around you and hear conversations, that some of those people are going to, like you, appreciate animals, and some are going explicitly to murder them. And I had words in the Atlanta airport with people coming back from Johannesburg on my flight who were waiting in baggage claim for their guns to come out. And it's hard to understand where those people are coming from. And I hope that as time goes by, they'll just be an endangered species themselves and stop harming wildlife.
Hannah, I appreciate your being on the PETA podcast. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Emil.
PETA's Senior Director of Investigations, Hannah Schein, stop the trophy hunting business, stop the shipping of the carcasses. Other airlines and shippers have. Demand that UPS stop it now. For more, go to PETA.org. And that's our show this time out. Hey, you can contact us at PETA.org. You can find me on Twitter at Emil Amok, that's EMILAMOK, or on AMOK.com, or see my work at ALDEF, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. That's at ALDEF, AALDEF.org/blog. Once again, thank you for listening. Check out all our episodes on your favorite podcast app or on Apple Podcasts, where you can rate and review the show. It helps get the word out about the issues you care about. Our music is provided by Carbonworks. Check them out on YouTube. And join us again next time for more insight into animal rights and the fight for a cruelty-free world on the PETA Podcast. I'm Emil Guillermo.